This episode is brought to you by Top Notch Cattle Company, raising high-quality registered red and gray Brahman cattle. Contact Baxter Whitworth at 903-649-9155 or at bbwtopnotchcattle@gmail.com. Look, I get it. Calves are always born at the most inconvenient times. In the dead of winter, at night, or right before a wedding when you have your nicest clothes on. And scales are really expensive. And even if you can't afford one, it's hard to find one that'll fit your operation. And even if you do have a scale, it's hard to get those calves onto the scale whenever a cow is not making it easy. Well, today, we're going to learn the solution to fix all of those problems. Welcome to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast,
bringing you the innovative new ways of the cattle industry.
We're your hosts, Baxter Whitworth and Paul Hayes. Together, we're going to be interviewing leaders within the cattle industry.
Here on this podcast, our focus is honoring God and innovating the cattle industry. Get ready to listen, learn, and laugh as we help innovate the cattle industry.
Let's get innovating. Are you looking for high-quality hay that is priced well? Then make sure to visit Threadgill Hay Company. They have fertilized horse jigs and Tifton 85. They carry square bales and round bales. Their square bales are $8 a bale, and their 4x6 round bales are $50 per roll. That's a nice price and good quality. They're located outside of Mount Enterprise, Texas, and they will gladly give you more details when you contact them. Speaking of contacting them, you can reach out by texting Sawyer Poole at 903-646-4741 or Ronald Threadgill at 903-235-2011. Infinity Cattle Services, owned by Chris Shivers, is glad to be a sponsor of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. Infinity Cattle Services, a unique, vision-driven, service-oriented company committed to developing successful revenue-producing cattle operations, is a full-service consulting and marketing firm specializing in Brahman and Brahman-influenced cattle. Contact them today to learn more about how they can assist you with locating cattle, cattle mating, sale management, marketing, communications, record keeping, data submission, and a wide array of other services. They can be reached at 713-202-1747. Again, that's 713-202-1747, or at infinitycattleservices@gmail.com. That is infinitycattleservices@gmail.com. Visit their website at infinitycattle.com or check them out on Facebook and Instagram. It's time for another episode of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast, where we keep you current on beef cattle industry events, help you innovate your herd to turn a profit, and help innovate the beef cattle industry so we can feed more people on less land. I'm your host, Baxter Whitworth, and today we're talking about birth weight. Now, this might seem like a very fundamental thing to be talking about, but birth weight's a very important thing to measure, and we'll learn about why in a little bit. Now, first to start off with, what is birth weight? Well, birth weight is the weight of a calf at the time that it's born. Now, typically, breed associations will ask you to have this measured if you're going to turn it in within the first 24 hours of the calf being born. So, a birth weight is typically a low birth weight is considered to be 72 pounds or under. Now, this can vary depending on what breed you're on, but on the average, a low birth weight is considered 72 pounds and under. So, a birth weight can be predicted through an EPD and is typically, or is known as one of the most famous EPDs. Now, how is birth weight typically measured? Birth weight's typically measured through a scale, but that can be quite a hassle. Getting a newborn calf to a scale, while the mother probably isn't too forgiving of you messing with her calf. So there's also another way of measuring a calf, or measuring the birth weight of a calf, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But first we need to know, why is birth weight important? Well, there's a few reasons why birth weight's important. The first one being because the risk factor of birth weight. This being that if a calf is too heavy when the cow has that calf, first of all, the calf can not survive, and that's detrimental to profit, because that cow, you just spent 9 months putting resources into that cow, and if she has nothing to show for it, that's a bunch of money down the drain. Also, a high birth weight calf can be detrimental to the health and even cause death to the cow that's having the calf. Now, this might seem like a fundamental thing, and most of you probably already know everything I'm telling you. But there's another reason why birth weight is so important to measure, and I'll let this clip explain that. Well, now we're going to switch over to the opposite side and talk about production records. And so we've kind of talked about how this is important because it plays back into the role of, without the production records, the financial records really wouldn't be much help, because we wouldn't know how that cow is paying for herself or how she's doing. So what exactly do you track within that, and how do you track that?
I'll jump in, and I want to add to this because in our workflow, Brandon writes everything down, and then at some point we translate everything into a giant spreadsheet, which we call our digital branding book. We call his pocket branding book just like the branding book, but we have a digital branding book, and we translate all of that into the digital branding book. And I just looked it up, but right now we have 2,300 data 2,300 head that we have data on. And so once we get it into that digital format, the sky is the limit on what we can calculate. We can do birth weight by year, birth weight trends, birth weight by sire, birth weight by cow family, for every single data point that we have. And so if at any time anybody has a question about how our cattle perform or how our cattle can be measured, we can pretty much go to that digital branding book, figure out the formula, and we can have that answer. And that answer is backed up by real numbers, not just a gut feeling. Give you a really good real world example of that. So one thing we track is birth weights. And we have noticed over the last few years, our birth weights have been creeping up. For us to be considered a low birth weight bull, it's 79 pounds or less. But since 2018, our average birth weight in our herd of a bull has been over 79 pounds. So, and not much, but it's like 80, 81. For this year, our average birth weight of a bull born at BRC is 81 pounds. So then taking that to the financial metrics, my average price of a high birth weight bull is somewhere around like $7,500. My average price of a low birth weight bull is somewhere around $10,000. So there's a $2,500 difference. If I could just get my birth weights down consistently lower than 79 pounds per head, I'm getting a $2,500 premium because a low birth weight bull is more versatile, right? So you may have seen a couple weeks ago, we bought a bull at Kemper Cattle Company. This is the first time we bought a bull in an online sale in I don't know how long, 10 years maybe. But that was a very specific objective of buying a low birth weight bull. What was his birth weight, Brandon? 56 pounds. So that's like a real world example of how we're using these numbers to make better decisions and hopefully improve our bottom line.
And if you can consistently increase that, that's going to make a big difference, And so I hope it becomes apparent how record keeping can really lead to the profitability.
EP Cattle Company. Owned by Eddie Wilson, EP Cattle Company is home of Sir Rouse Handshake. Rouse Handshake is a sound-structured, heavy-muscle bull that is really bold-ribbed. So it comes with no surprise that he is a Fort Worth and San Antonio Junior Show Division champion and Rio Grande Valley Open Show Division champion. He is a grandson of BRC Noble and JDH Shank Manso, and is also a great-grandson of Mr. H. Elijah Manso. You can contact Eddie Wilson or Nicole Wilson on Facebook at EP Cattle Company. So remember, if you're looking for some well-performing registered Brahman genetics, contact Eddie Wilson on Facebook.
If you truly want your livestock to perform at their best, make sure to contact Vance Aaron, the owner and operator of AFL Livestock Solutions. Vance specializes in MagnaWave treatments that use pulsed electromagnetic fields, or PEMF, to relieve pain, swelling, and inflammation, caused to help your livestock feel their best. In addition to livestock, Vance can also help you feel better. His treatment works great on sore muscles and joints, along with other mobility issues. His treatments are FDA approved to treat migraines. Aaron Family Livestock Solutions has helped many exhibitors make it to the backdrop with their proven MagnaWave treatments. Don't miss your next backdrop picture. Give Vance a call at 903-720-3184. Again, that's 903-720-3184. Or find them on Facebook at AFL Livestock Solutions. Wow. $2,500, $2,500. That is a lot per head on the average, but per head. That is a crazy way to boost your margins and profit. So, first of all, the thing to break down there is they kept track of those records, and that led to them being able to figure this out. But $2,500 per head on a bull that is high birth weight, they're getting $2,500 more on a bull that is low birth weight than a bull that is high birth weight. Now, that's a big deal. And of course, I'm not advocating for single trait selection on just birth weight, but being able to get a bull that will make you $2,500 more just based off of one EPD, that is a great way to grow your business. Now, of course, that's not the only benefit to having a low birth weight bull. In my opinion, you kind of get three. You get the low risk factor of lowering the risk of having a cow that has complications with her calf. You get to be able to sell those calves for a higher margin because they're highly sought after. And then if you keep good and accurate records of those calves' birth weight, not only can you sell them for more, but they also just become more marketable because they have accurate records on a very important trait. Even if it's not quite what you're looking for, you can build more off of what you know than what you don't know. So that makes them even more marketable. Now, how do you track those? How do you keep those records? That can be a tough question because, first of all, it's not easy to get a birth weight on a newborn calf. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, a lot of scenarios that are not great. You can be out of town. That happens a lot. It can be the dead of winter, and that's not very fun to go out there. It can be at night. You don't realize that they're born. It can be a busy day that you didn't get to go around and check your calves. And the worst, maybe not the worst, but a hard one, is whenever you have somewhere to be and it happens, or somewhere nice to be, you have on nice clothes, and then that makes it even tougher. Now, of course, you can get that calf to a scale, but that is pretty difficult if you think about it. And I'm sure a lot of you know, because first of all, carrying that calf with the mother around is not very easy. getting that calf to a scale is going to cause more stress on that calf, more stress on the mother. Neither of those are good. Neither of those are good for the calf growing. That isn't good for the mother in terms of feed efficiency. And so neither of those are good situations. However, there is a solution to that. And of course, this is not an ad, but another tool to use is called the Hoofometer birthweight tape. And you can get this tool from Sullivan Supply. I think it's around $18.50. But using that tool can be a great way to keep accurate records on your calves' birth weight without sacrificing time and without sacrificing stress on the animal. It's very easy to use, and you'll learn about that in the next clip. So that tool, the Hoofometer birth weight tape, this is it right here. You're looking at it. You can get it, I'm sure, from other places, and this is not an ad, but you can get it from Sullivan Supply for $18.50. Now, that does seem expensive, but when you factor in what it can really do for you, that is, in my opinion, a reasonable expense for your cattle operation. Now, this is not an ad, but I do think this is a great product that can help you increase the quality of your cattle operation. So, if you're wanting to get a Hoofometer tape, I'm sure there's other places you can get it, but you can get it from Sullivan Supply for $18.50. The way you use it is by taking the tape. It's pretty simple. Taking the tape, sliding it up on the front, right above the front leg hoof. And if it's a bull calf, it'll have a different number. If it's a heifer calf, it'll have a different number, and it'll be on a different side, and it'll tell you on that tape. And it'll give you a pretty accurate measurement of an extremely accurate measurement of the weight of that calf when it's born. And in my opinion, this is a much better way of doing it than being more risky of moving that calf, causing more stress on it, causing more danger for yourself. Even though it can still be tough with a protective mother, it's a lot easier than having to move that calf.
Have you been looking for Brahman cattle with a good genetic background? Contact 79 Cattle Company, selling reliable Brahman replacement heifers, Brahman show prospects, and Brahman bulls. Contact Taylor Tate at 210-241-4511. Again, that's 210-241-4511. Or contact Mallory Tate at 210-861-0155, 210-861-0155. Have you been looking for a place to buy top quality AI sire semen or collect a bull of your own? Well, look no further than Elgin Breeding Services. Located in Elgin, Texas, Elgin Breeding Service is not only one of the best breeding services in the business, but also has superior customer service. Contact them at ebsbull@elginbreedingservices.com or by phone at 512-285-2019. Again, that's 512-285-2019. And visit their website at elginbreedingservice.com.
So, in conclusion, what have we learned? Well, we've learned what birth weight is. Birth weight is the weight at which a calf is when it's born. We have learned that you can track birth weights and you can measure, you can learn what a birth weight, or we know what a birth weight EPD is on a calf. And we know that birth weight is important because it reduces risk on the cattle. Having accurate data on birth weights can make our cattle more marketable, And having low birth weight bulls can help them average $2,500 more a head than high birth weight bulls. So, I hope that you learned something about birth weight and are going to implement some of these tactics into your herd. Thank you for listening. Please share this episode so that others can gain the knowledge you have as well. And also, please follow the Cattle Innovation Station podcast, not only where you're listening, but also on Instagram and Facebook. And until next time, keep innovating the cattle industry. Signing off.